Welcome to the Soyle Podcast. I'm Tom L.C. Ship.
I'm Jack Gleason.
I'm SK.
And I'm Matt.
Heyo. Hey, Matt, how's it going?
Good, man. Thanks for having me again back on the show. Good to be here. What are we talking about?
Well, I wanted to talk today about the stories that really had a deep emotional impact on us. Get a little bit real today.
There's key emotions and concepts that always kind of get something out of me. And it doesn't matter what kind of media it's in. I'm also a softie though, so I get emotional. I can't watch Lion King without crying.
Oh, the Lion King.
Which part?
Real talk.
Man.
Actually, in the intro, there's a lot of nostalgia. That was the first movie I saw in a theater as a kid, and it reminds me of my past grandma. So when the intro starts, I get that rush of nostalgia, and it just starts welling up. And then obviously when King Papa Lion dies, that was that's always
Mufasa
pushes me off the ledge.
He should have moved faster to get out of the way.
Yeah, Mufasa. For those of you that have never
your
seen
grandma.
The Lion King, King Papa Lion's name is Mufasa.
We're not doing any spoiler alerts. I'm done with it. You should see popular movies.
For some reason, when you said it reminded you of your grandma, I just pictured your grandma after you were born just holding you up
That's
like
exactly
Simba.
what happened. I have I have a list of examples of things I feel that have affected me emotionally during different media, and each one of those I feel kind of covers a different subject of why is that the thing that made me get emotional. So do you guys have those? Do you guys have why is that
absolutely.
one thing that gets you emotional?
So I wanted to ask you actually. So you get nostalgic about it, right? And then when Mufasa dies, what does that bring up for you? Why does that?
I mean,
really
it's just
get to you?
just sad, there's reservations that I have about my dad and my brother specifically is another big one that if that's going to be a tough one to cope with. When my dad dies or when my brother dies, I don't want to be alive when my brother dies, to be honest. That's going to be a really weird one for me to process.
I can kill you first if you want.
I mean, he is a couple years older than me, so I think it's just going to be one of those things that I have to have a heart attack before he does. Yeah, I mean, with The Lion King as an example, when Mufasa dies, that's just an emotional part. I remember as a kid, seeing that movie multiple times through my childhood, that was always the moment where it was just why did you it's that's a really unfortunate part. Do you guys have any of those really
let's go around the
iconic
circle.
moments that stick out?
Yeah, I'm waiting for you to shut up.
Well, SK?
It's okay. It's okay. We're all here for you, Matt. We're all here for you.
That wasn't a segue for me to start talking. That was a segue for
It is now.
Matt to shut up.
So, SK, what makes you cry at night?
Or at daytime.
Any time of the day is a good time to cry, I guess. I don't know.
I'd
like to think that I'm some kind of emotional, thinking, feeling thing, but the only thing that really gets me sad is the Hunchback of Notre Dame. I remember, just looking at Quasimodo and thinking, dude's got a rough life. I don't really resonate with that so much, but it's just whenever something bad happens to Quasimodo, it's come on, man. He's such a good guy. Why is this fucking happening to him? Look at him. Dude just wants to have fun, and then he gets bullied at the fucking Festival of Fools and shit, and it's it's not a mask. That's his real face. And you're all fucked up for making fun of him. And somehow I feel like I'm everybody at the festival.
Where you're the one that's
So maybe it's not that I feel like I'm
Making fun of him?
Quasimodo getting made fun of by people. Maybe I feel like I do that too much. And it highlights the bad part of me. And it's me on display.
You're the one in the mask.
I mean, there's a lot of things that happen. One of the ones that sticks out to me, I guess because it's kind of recent for me, is I don't know if you guys have seen My Hero Academia. For some reason, the main character, right, is this kid, and he starts the show off with no superpowers, and the story is about how he becomes the greatest superhero ever. And whenever he goes through his trials and errors or moments of just I have to win for friendship or whatever, there's a lot
That's
of
exactly
stuff.
what the show is like.
I mean, it's I don't know, it's kind of dramatic when he gets into the actual fight. But there's a lot of moments where Deku kind of goes up against a a big force, and it gets me.
Hmm.
Or like I shed a tear because I'm just like, I relate with your effort to fucking try, dude.
Everyone loves an underdog.
Yeah,
absolutely. I've been talking a lot though, so what's up with you, Tom?
Well, you guys can cry over your children's cartoons. I love movies that like Franz Kafka said, it's got to be an axe for the frozen sea inside of you. If it's not ripping your guts out, it's wasting your time. So like I like movies set in history or just like so brutal. It's just like a punch to your face for 2 hours. Like Schindler's List. You're looking at those kids hiding in the shitter, and the fucking Nazis are just ready to throw them in the furnace. I'm balling.
See, okay.
wow.
See, first of all, I've never seen this side of you. I've never
Yeah,
seen
really?
I felt inferior to you in that moment. The feeling is past, but
I mean, I just have a more little sophisticated taste, I think, like with, liking movies like Raging Bull.
wow.
I want to see this guy have no redeemable traits. He's just physically abusing his wife for,
Shut
an
the
hour and a
fuck
half
up.
while he just
Raging Bull.
just grows as a miserable person.
De Niro.
Yeah, that movie is, I cried. My eyes are just, red and like swollen, and it's like it's an emotional experience.
I think that Schindler's List is a fantastic film, but I don't cry when I watch it. Not until the very end.
No, well,
And even
yeah,
then, I don't
exactly.
cry. I get emotional at Schindler realizing how much of a shithead he was.
Yeah.
But the
I
kids
could've
in
done more,
the kids in the shitter and everyone dying, it's like, yeah, it's emotional, but I'm not fucking. Ooh, fuck the human atrocities. I think the best part of the movie is at the end where they're putting all the stones on his grave. It's like when you see the grandeur, the real world historical grandeur of the lives that he saved. It's like, oh fuck,
when they actually bring
it's
all
not
the
a
real
movie
people.
anymore.
Yeah,
It's not Liam Neeson. That's Oscar Schindler.
I don't know. I need movies where there's no villains. It's just a bunch of people who are sad and they're victims to their own fury or pride, and
I forget
usually
his
it's
name,
the
but
children and that are getting the brunt
but
of
the
it.
Nazi is the bad guy in the movie. I forget his name, but
Yeah, that guy's he's just standing with his gun over his back, and he's just like shirtless, ready
yeah,
to shoot some
the
Jews.
one scene that he
Yeah, it's
does
really
that in.
Awful.
The rest
Yeah.
of the scenes where he's shooting Jews indiscriminately because he's a psychopath.
So, yeah, that's
I didn't expect to get
that's what
attacked
makes
for
me
Hunchback
cry
of
at
Notre
night.
Dame.
yeah, really, Jesus.
I wasn't expecting to get attacked for feeling something.
It's called
over a
entertainment.
cartoon. There's
Prime.
movies. I could think of a movie that would make me sad, but fuck, man. Maybe I don't want to talk to you anymore.
It's called conflict. It's good. It's good. Good.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna smack you in the teeth.
What about you, Jack? Let's change the subject.
going
Jack.
back and forth
What makes
between-
you cry?
Two options that like really fucking made me sob. The first of which is a movie called Gifted, which I don't know, it's not necessarily like a super sad movie, but there's just like moments. Yeah, I just empathize so fucking strongly with the character, especially, and the little girl is just such an amazing actor, and she has some really, really good moments where she just like is destroyed because of what's happening, and I don't know, for that one, it's like the whole thing is that the guy Chris
Evans.
whatever. Chris Evans, thank you. Yes. He he's actually her uncle. So there's some emotional stuff in that, I guess, because I'm an uncle, and so I see myself a little bit in that. Mm-hmm. And then just when she's, going through issues, it's a lot. It's very easy for me to kind of go into like parental mode and feel for the kid. But the other one, that movie makes me cry like 3 different times.
What about it? Well, what is it that makes you cry about it? What happens? What is it that you connect to?
The big one is when if you haven't seen the movie, I'm sorry, Matt, but here you go. At one point, the court basically orders that the girl now has to go live with somebody else, and he has to take her there and leave her after he's told her that they're not going to take her away. It's like first day of school, but 100 times worse, and it's just total abandonment. And it's really rough because like another scene that also hits me is when her biological father shows up in court, and he doesn't even come by to see her or anything like that. Like he's literally never seen her in her entire life, and she finds out about it, and she's just like in the bathroom crying about it. Like he didn't even want to see me. Like what the, And the other one that really gets me is actually a happy moment that happens just after that, which is so she's like crying in the bathroom about not being wanted, and Chris Evans takes her to a hospital and makes her wait, and she's like, what the fuck are we what are we waiting for, And he's like, nope, you're just gonna wait until it happens. And like, what are we waiting for? You'll see. And somebody basically comes out and is like, oh, it's a girl, and a family gets up and is all super happy and all this stuff, right? So they're basically watching that moment in somebody else's life. And basically what he does is he turns to the girl and he's like, this is exactly what it was like when you were born. And she's like, oh, this happy? And I was like, yeah, this happy. And she's like, who was it that went out and told everybody? And he's like, then he says it was him. So it's just, I don't know. I don't know why exactly. It definitely has something to do with the fact that I'm an uncle and, I was in the waiting room. Maybe I just have, because of being an uncle, I have more of a protective instinct now than I used to for like kids. So I don't know.
Like a Catcher in the Rye kind of thing. You want to protect the vulnerable.
The last 60 pages of Catcher in the Rye.
It's been a very, very long time since I read that book, so I don't remember much of it.
I was going to hold out another insult.
Yeah.
Let's fucking hear it.
Yeah, let's hear it. Let's hear it, Tom.
Let's hear it.
Let
me guess, we're literate
more
too.
Literary sophistication.
I could not hear what you said.
That's okay. Okay. So it seems that be the common theme here. I'm totally changing the subject. We need. It's
I'm being a real
dickhead
right now.
Helpless characters.
I'm going to change the subject.
Victims.
Helpless characters.
I mean, we're talking about emotional movies. We're gonna have you get emotional. This is characters who are victims, and there's just the overwhelming power and just awfulness in life that we're trying to protect the vulnerable from, or some characters are, and it's just either not working, or it's their effort is noble, but it's I don't know, about the human struggle, and I think everybody can relate to that, and that's why we like emotional movies.
But I don't think that by any means is like the only kind of emotion that can be pulled from, like a deep connection with you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, obviously, like, people relate with the struggle of humanity and tragedy and, like that moment where, like, Chris Evans has to leave the daughter on someone else's doorstep after he's just said, sorry, like, I'm going to be with you forever. Like, I'm going to protect you, whatever the fuck he says, and then he just leaves her there. Like, obviously that's going to, like, get certain people, but, like, those kind of moments when Mufasa dies, when, I guess, evidently all of Schindler's List for Tom, like, those kinds of moments, like, aren't the only things that pull on my emotional strings, like there are also really good moments that get me in almost the exact same way. Like, I mean, everybody knows the story of Jim and Pam in The Office, right?
Yeah.
And especially being married to a woman that, like, her and I have been through a lot of chaos to get to the point that where we're at in our relationship. And, like, we bought a house together and we have lived together for a little while. We are planning on having kids soon, blah, blah, blah. But, like, even long before I ever met Emily, I had those moments watching The Office at 2 a.m. because I don't know, I'm a high school kid that can't sleep one night, and, like, that's what's on. When you're watching Jim and Pam and you're watching their relationship evolve, and, like, obviously it's scripted, so they're pulling you in for just that, right? But, like, that doesn't mean that it doesn't hit home for a lot of people, that, like, that's something, when you see something in media that not only that you connect with, but you want for yourself, like, that level of a relationship, that level of a connection that they share, like, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, all of that stuff is very, very, very powerful. And, like, even those, like, little 5-second moments where, like, Pam will be talking to somebody and they'll say something about their relationship that they really don't like, and then she's like, oh, well, my relationship is still magic, in her head, and she'll go over and just, like, kiss Jim on the side of the head. It's like, that fucking gets me, dude. That gets me. It really does.
I'm gonna pull a Tom here.
Call me a
hey,
pussy.
Matt, do you like the Hallmark Channel too?
No, I don't. But
my new characterization.
All I'm saying is that tragedy and struggle are not the only kind of emotion out there that can affect people. Like, that's why The fucking Notebook is so goddamn popular.
I like movies that are inspiring and Jim and
But, like,
Pam,
it's
they
not
have
just-
they
we're not
have
just
like
talking
they
about
developed
movies,
their
though.
relationship over a long time, and
We're not just talking about movies, though. It's like any form of
Well, yeah.
media or
Yeah.
any story that's going to affect you in a way that most things don't.
I just remembered one.
Go ahead.
The Green Mile.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
dude.
yeah.
I think this
Mile.
kind of stems into my overarching why I like The Green Mile and why I like the Batman trilogy. Christopher Nolan. But here's the thing is that, like, you know, some people, they get really emotional about things that resonate with them personally. It's like, oh, I am that person. I'm not. What's his name? What's his name in The Green Mile? The big guy.
Oh.
Yeah.
And it's like
Coffee,
John
but spelled different.
is John Coffey, but spelled different.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of last sequence where he's explaining, you know, the misery that his existence is, and Tom Hanks is explaining how he's afraid of not getting into heaven because he killed an angel. The sort of moral implication of the mercy killing of this, you know, amazing individual, and at the same time, you know, robbing the world of the things that he could possibly do. I can't not cry at the end of The Green Mile. I mean, I mean, it's not even a full experience. I don't have to watch the whole thing. I can watch the last 20 minutes and just be like,
Right.
my bro did not deserve to go,
Yeah. Yeah.
but we have to let him go. It's sort of like almost Forrest Gump. You know, Forrest Gump is almost there.
Yeah.
I can not cry at the end of Forrest Gump. It's like, oh,
Yeah,
it's
Forrest
sad.
Gump is more
Yeah, I have
like
hit or
a
miss with Forrest
feel-good
Gump.
tone. The whole
It's symbolic, but it's not quite as hard hitting as The Green Mile.
Yeah.
Something about coffee, and you're just like, my guy, come on.
Absolutely.
He didn't deserve
Well, it's not like
anything.
Forrest dies at the end of Forrest Gump. See,
No.
if that
But
were
I
the
mean,
case,
Jenny
like,
dies,
Jesus.
right? And it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a hard time empathizing with Jenny because I think she's such an ass.
I agree.
You don't spend enough time with her like when she's
Yeah,
actually
you
better.
don't have enough time to understand, you know, the shit that she actually went through to warrant all of her weird, fucked up behavior. I mean, you get it. You get
Right,
enough
you
of
get
it.
it,
Not
but
not
still, it's
enough
just
for
like-
me to be really, really sad when she's gone.
She's a free bird.
It's more like, fuck, finally Forrest can move the fuck on.
I feel bad for Forrest.
Right.
But it's the same kind of metaphorical, symbolic element that makes me sad at the end of The Dark Knight. Whenever shit happens at the end, I didn't like The Dark Knight Rises the first time I saw it, but I just watched it a couple times last week because it was on Netflix. And
Dark Knight Rises?
Pretty big guy. For you.
for you. No, his death, his death at the
Yeah,
end.
right.
You know, watching Alfred get all choked up about it, and you know him sacrificing himself for his ideals. It's like it's a comic book, but the implications, the moral implications of him doing this, you know, they outweigh his existence as Batman. You kind of guess that he's alive at the end of the movie, but at the same time, you're looking at it and you're thinking, either way, it's okay.
Yeah,
and that's just sort of the element of life that no matter what, you have to just kind of accept for what it is.
Right.
Mm-hmm. He still made the choice, even if it wasn't and it was a permanent choice, even
Right.
if it wasn't, even if it didn't have the consequences that you necessarily expected. It's still a permanent choice that he made, and it had an impact on everyone in that city. So, regardless, you can get away with showing him, oh, actually, he's still alive, to have a little bit of a nice, heartwarming feeling.
Yeah.
Even though there is still that sadness of him having left.
I like the grandiose kind of moral decisions.
It's don't you get like kind of weighed down by the cliche though of the savior figure that chooses to die, and
I
then
don't.
in order to redeem.
No.
It's
not for that
it's
one.
much harder to.
What are you, a
it
cynic?
seems
What are
much
you, a
harder to
cynic?
build a story.
Hey, Mr. Literary,
That's-
fuck you. Jumping all over me.
It's much
Fucking
harder. My point
Schindler's
exactly.
List.
It's harder to build a story that's trying to give a positive message as opposed to just tearing the characters apart, because that's just a guaranteed heart puller. And I don't know, it's just I don't really like stories that end with this happy redemptive ending, like at the end of Harry Potter when he's all like grown up and has kids and everybody's happy. It's like that doesn't really have an emotional impact as opposed to like watching everybody just being torn apart and killed during the war. And I don't know, it just feels more real to life.
You don't have an emotional resonance when you watch the end of the Lord of the Rings. You have no emotion at all.
Well, it's like
Oh,
You're
I just
just like,
watched
this
the
is a
extended
movie.
editions. This is a movie. Yep. There's no
Okay,
you
this
is
have
a
no
movie.
catharsis. You have nothing.
Okay, but the ending
it
of
was
Harry
all about
Potter.
Sam.
The ending of Harry Potter is bad. the flash forward for just I don't know, for synchronicity's sake, it's stupid. It's like, oh, I don't know how to end this. I just spent 5 books ravaging everyone's lives.
Everything's
okay.
Years
Harry
from
feels
now.
good.
Like,
Lord of the Rings does it well. It's hard to do it. It's hard to end like that. With the positive ending redeems all of the suffering before it.
Tom, you're talking
makes
about,
it all make sense.
You're talking about, you said you don't like it when there's a happy ending.
I mean, it's not a happy ending. Everybody's dead. It's not like we are going away to the Valhalla and everything's going to be okay. It's like, I love, it's a mixed ending. Like at the end of Pan's Labyrinth, the girl dies, but she imagines herself going and being the princess of the underworld when really she's just being buried in the ground after being killed by, this fucking Spanish officer. And so that, I like that mixed feeling. I don't like to know that everything's going to be okay. I want to know that the world's still terrible, but you can, try to survive.
My fucking God. You just want to live in chaos? I just want to be able to glean at hope every once in a while. I just want to be able to hold it in my hand for just a second and then go back to life is misery.
Like it's a requiem for a dream. You can dream all you want, but if you get into the drugs, it's going to tear you apart. I don't know how that relates, but I wanted to say that.
What does that do for you? When you
what does that do for you?
Watching that. No, when you, specifically you, what do you take away from that? How do you apply that to your life? Do you go, oh, well, everything's shitty, I might as well just not do anything. Maybe I'll just try to have drugs now.
It's about,
like, what is your takeaway?
It's about being emotionally fortified, not make stupid mistakes. Well, it's not that the world is chaos, so you should take drugs and then end up, becoming a sex slave or armless in a hospital. It's about learning from other people's mistakes and accepting that the world is an awful, chaotic, terrible place and that you can still have acts of bravery and love. And that's why Lord of the Rings has a good ending.
Here's my problem. I have a problem with this. But
don't wait for
I have a big problem with this.
I do too.
The one story that I cannot consume, and the one story that I will oppose as much as I can, is bad things happen to good people for no reason.
Yeah.
The harshities of life. It's like, oh yeah, sometimes orphans starve to death on the street and die, and there's no moral message to learn from it. There's no way that it could been prevented, or it's so to the point where it's like, oh yeah, we can't do anything about it. What's the fucking point of that?
Yeah.
What's the point of learning that lesson? All it does is teach me.
It's about learning to be more kind.
What?
It's about learning to be more kind. If you realize that,
but there's no one to teach me in the movie. No one in the movie teaches me to be that way. It's one thing to say, "Hey,
you're looking for a hero like the Dark Knight."
What?
Looking for a hero like the Dark Knight to show the way?
No, I don't need. Oh fuck! Can I finish my point before you hit me with a counterpoint? Thank you. Let the record show that I have the floor.
Do you need the talking pillow
until I relinquish it? I don't need some grandiose moral figure to say, "Oh, this is the way to be," and I don't need them to stand up and say, "This, I'm the symbol of this thing. Do this, and life will be fine." But at the same time, there should be someone who represents that value, at least to a degree. When a story's message is just the world's a horrible place and bad things happen, and somehow we're supposed to just glean some idea that there's some nicety left, that
that's not.
Maybe we could just all get along. This would never happen. That's not what I'm learning from it.
I agree. I don't think that there is. I understand where you're coming from, that in order for you to get invested in a story, you want there to be contrasting points between good things and bad things. But for me personally, in my life experience, it has been shown there's always going to be something that you can do about a situation that you're actually going to be able to get a takeaway from it in a meaningful way, more so than just well, bad things happen to bad people, good things happen to good people, that's karma, or the world is shitty, so let's just try to be nice, because I don't think that I don't think, maybe I'm going off a little bit on a tangent, but I don't think that there's a lot of lesson in that sort of story. There's going to be good or there's going to be bad if you choose to seek that. It's all a state of mind.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to drop a bomb here, but believe it or not, you can fucking change the way you think to see good things. rather than always stay focused on bad things and only seeing the negative, because you're focusing on the fucking negative, dude. I don't know. I feel like I've seen and done a lot of things in my life that have proven to me that, like, if I focus on bad things, like, bad things are going to happen, and I'm only going to see those bad things. But if I try and change that frame of mind to, like, focus on good things, being grateful, being thankful, being empathetic towards people, you can get good things out of it. Does that make any sense? Am I just talking on a weird fucking tangent?
No, I get you.
I get it.
Tom, so, I feel like we're all kind of jumping on you a bit.
We are.
Obviously because you kind of jumped on us, but
And
I do.
misrepresenting me, but it's okay.
Yeah, so I do. So that's exactly why I'm about to ask what I'm about to ask. Because can you reiterate for us, like, what are you, like, personally getting out of when shit just happens to people and there's no, like, happy ending, as you said? So what are you taking away from those things?
So why are we drawn to tragedies, and why do they affect us so deeply? Is rephrasing your question. So I mean, I like all different kinds of stories. It's not my only favorite type, but I would say tragedy is something that deeply affects me the most, as opposed to like a rom-com or something like that.
Yeah, same.
And I think that tragedies it's about facing the darkness of life and looking around and seeing no heroes that are going to swoop in and save the day or represent the values that are good in the world. All you have are characters that are flawed, that are pursuing their own happiness, which actually just winds up destroying them. Or they're pursuing their desire, which may be destroying others. And just being immersed in that, you get a better understanding of it. Like if you just read a story about a man who abuses his wife, you would be like, that man is awful. He has a devil inside him. He's, just throw him in jail, lock away the key. But if you spend 2 hours with Raging Bull and, like, look at this man suffering and how he causes suffering to other people, I don't know, I feel like I'm learning more about life than if they conquer the bad guy and everything's okay at the end. It's hard to explain, but I feel like that's learning more about life that I don't usually see.
I get what you're saying. It's like it's a meta level of enjoyment,
and you're able to, like,
for you.
I mean, by having those kind of characters and following these characters who are doing these bad things, right? You're able to get a deeper understanding of, like, real people who behave that way, to maybe empathize with them better and maybe go, okay, well, maybe I can address this in a different way because I have a deeper understanding about what's going on. Is that right?
Yeah, it's like,
is it also like a learn from
I want
the
to
consequences
understand.
sort of thing?
Yeah, like it's like I'm less likely to do heroin after watching Requiem for a Dream. That's for sure. And I didn't like
heroin.
but I just don't like characters that are painted in a bad light and they don't get any real time to explain why they're evil or why they do the things they do. And then it's just focused on the hero doing great things to oppose the villain.
To be perfectly clear, I'm not jumping on you because of your enjoyment of whatever stories you enjoy. I really couldn't give a shit about what you like. I mean, I don't care. What I'm talking about is just taking that example to the extreme and having no redemptive qualities whatsoever. If you're learning something from it, then great. But what I'm talking about is the sort of moral bankruptcy of a story of just being, it's the worst thing that could possibly happen, and there's no lesson to learn from it. Because I think that it's sort of it's a moral obligation for us to teach a story that's going to better society. Because if we're just going to perpetuate these ideas, it's like propaganda to a degree.
Right.
Let's perpetuate all these negative elements to the point that everyone hates this certain thing because that's the light that it's in forever. I think that the moral obligation of the storyteller is to be fair, but also to kind of put the human race a little bit further than where we were at. Because, I mean, we're thinking and feeling at this point, right? That's what separates us from the animals, is that we think and feel.
Yes.
It's our intelligence.
Yes.
The soul, so to speak.
Right.
Or less.
If we're not improving that, if we're not improving the societal level, and we're just going to keep holding ourselves in this sort of negative light, what's the point?
Also, Tom, I think you're being a bit reductionist in saying that any story where there is, moral or like somebody wins, or there's like a good ending or something like that, is that it's just like the good guy triumphantly defeated the bad guy because he is the good guy.
Right.
We're not talking about fucking like Disney
Not
movies.
Superman, you know, it's not Superman.
Yeah, we're not talking about
we
Superman.
were talking about Disney movies, but yeah.
Well, we were, yes.
We
Absolutely.
were talking about
The first 5 minutes.
Every other movie or story that has somebody who wins can also have a lot of the exact same stuff you're talking of. Just because somebody wins and there is a happier ending at, towards the end doesn't mean you can't also go through all that shit and just end on a hopeful note.
Right.
I understand that you're arguing against the simplicity of good will win out.
Yeah.
But I'm arguing for the subtlety of let's layer in a greater moral message that everyone can learn so that as a society we can benefit and avoid certain problems.
Besides, if you only ever have a story where just nothing but shit happens, just constant, you never get that comparison between the shit happening, the contrast, exactly, between the shit happening and the nice feeling. So you don't ever get to have that. You don't even feel like something bad is happening, right? There's no emotional impact, because the emotional impact comes from the change, right? If I'm in a happy state and then something shitty happens, it's way more impactful than stuff was already shit and it just becomes a little bit more shit. Unless the change is really dramatic where, okay, I'm struggling financially, and then, oh shit, my whole family died, right? That's a big drop. It was shitty before, but it's such a big drop that now it's even more shitty. So you need that difference in the kind of emotional scale, so to speak, in order to actually have that experience throughout the story. So you kind of need to have the high moments and the kind of okay moments and the really shitty moments and everything in between in order to have the contrast so you can actually feel each of those things and experience them.
I was just
I just feel
for,
like
hope, to be quite honest.
Also, hope is good.
Yeah.
People need hope.
Go ahead.
If the world is shitty,
hope is cool.
People should be able to hope so that it can make it better. It shouldn't be shitty.
That's all my previous rambling was really about, by the way. It was
right.
I just am, I will always argue for the sake of hope. It's not just going to be a shitty shit story and then shit happens and more shit on this guy and then he's all just sad and that's the story. No, that's not I back to kind of what SK said, was there has to be a morality story there, a lesson, so to speak, because you don't take away anything from just look at this guy, he was homeless, he had a really bad life, his parents got divorced, he got addicted to drugs, end of the story is he died in a gutter. What do you take away from that? Don't do drugs, don't have your parents get a divorce. I don't no.
Well,
that's not
to Tom's point. In that story, if we saw the spiral down and everyone's attempt to help him despite all of his issues, then yeah, I could say we could learn something from that. But that has to be intrinsic to the way the story is told. I don't like watching bad things happen to good people for no reason. I understand that we're misinterpreting your your point.
There was another thing that I kind of wanted to talk about in relation to affecting with stories deeply, and that was more specific to characters. Because I can't be the only person that has related to specific characters for one reason or another, and then, trials and things that person goes through are going to affect you a lot more than, somebody else, I guess, because you're related with that character a lot more. I was just telling a friend of mine the other day about how, I relate a little bit with Wolverine and, why he's so much of my favorite. I kid you not, and it was because, I read X-Men comics when I was a kid, and then the X-Men movie came out, right around when I was going through puberty, and relating myself to Wolverine was a hell of a lot easier for me to process, puberty than, I'm actually a fucking werewolf. That's, I'm a really hairy guy for people that are listening here. And, it was very, very beneficial for me as a child going through puberty to relate myself to that character. Because, he was a badass and, hairy and everything. When, the other 12-year-olds in the locker room were like, what the fuck is going on your chest, dude? You're shaving already? What's wrong with you? It made me feel, Like there was something that I could relate to and like make me.
Did you pretend to smoke cigars too?
Yeah. Yeah, I had claws.
Fucking...
You know, it was great.
I think this is an interesting tangent. Tom, do you have a specific character that you resonate with? Because I'd really love to hear this.
Yeah.
No, I genuinely.
I would love to hear it too.
No,
but not because I'm expecting to jump on you.
No. I'm not.
The way you said that sounded like you're like,
I can't wait. I just said really in a genuine way, but you guys jumped on me before I got a chance to say anything. You fucking assholes. Assume I'm such a piece of shit. I mean, I am, but...
I seem to relate more to the characters that are starting vulnerable and good intentioned and don't have the capabilities to really cope with the challenges that are facing them in the story, such as like a movie like Punch Drunk Love, which is basically a Notre Dame kind of guy. He's a little quirky and weird, and he's got his little way of living that's kind of apart from other people, and they don't really understand him, and it's hard to communicate at times or say a character really resonate with. Like somebody who's doesn't have powers, they're just kind of living life trying to get by day, like a Requiem for a Dream. They're just trying to pursue their own little happiness. I think when you see the suffering that they undergo and the misery that is happening to the characters, what I take away from it isn't that the world is horrible, let's just go jump off a ditch. I'm like, this is inspiring me to be more kind, because I can look at a homeless person suffering on the street and like I've, sat in a movie maybe, and I've kind of gone through that experience vicariously, and I can have more empathy. I don't enjoy the darkness. I think that it's awakening my, awareness and empathy to be more kind. I think, and I don't really get that from like superhero movies where I'm like, well, of course they win. They're on the side of good and they have powers, and the villain's just going to destroy themselves. I don't get anything from that.
I mean, I think we just like circled around my question.
I was going to say, I've learned that you don't resonate with heroes, which I already knew.
Any specific character you do resonate with?
Well, like I said, they like Punch Drunk Love. That character is kind of like a Notre Dame. Even just like the main character, Requiem for a Dream. The guy, it's Adam Sandler's character. I don't remember his name. It's the main character of Punch Drunk Love. Or even like the main character, Requiem for a Dream, who's just trying to make a relationship work. So I do stories where they fall in love and they're just trying to survive together to find their little happiness in the world. But, you're up against a monolith of, the world's kind of forces, and it's, you have to be brave. You can't rely on powers. You can't rely on Dumbledore to come save you. You have to realize that your actions are sometimes just luck. It's just bad luck and good luck. And I know you don't like, random suffering happen to people, but that happens. And by watching these stories, I'm kind of like, okay, well, if this happens, I can choose to act bravely in that situation or try and not just submit to it.
Okay, well, let me be
clear.
Because I don't
have powers or Dumbledore.
Let me be clear again. The bad things happen to good people for no reason. That's not just ignoring the incidents of bad things happen to people for no reason at all. Accidents happen. Bad shit happens. Sometimes things cascade that way. What I'm saying is that I don't think that it makes for a good story to tell somebody if you want them to learn something about life and for them to be, kind of happy or excited about the idea of moving forward to the next day. Also, I'm more talking about the agency of characters.
It's Old Yeller.
But even you could learn something from Old Yeller.
Old Yeller's gonna get rabies and
sometimes bad things happen to your dog, and you have to learn that there is death in life, and shit happens. But that's the lesson. Old Yeller doesn't die for no fucking reason. It's not a movie about a kid who has a dog for an hour and a half, and then he just shoots the dog at the end. The fucking movie ends.
Yeah, exactly. It's about what do you do with this situation when you don't have powers to rely on.
I'm agreeing with you, but I'm saying the interpretation is important. It's not just about the facts of what's happening. Bad things happen to good people for no reason. That does happen. I'm saying that if it doesn't have a reason, at least in the telling of it, then it is pointless. And that doesn't inspire me to live a better life.
Josuke, what characters do you...
I'm a defer to you because I don't have an answer for this. Oh. I've always had a problem with empathizing with characters. I don't think I resonate with anybody.
Well,
Sorry.
now here's the moment we were all waiting
Stay golden,
for.
Pony Boy.
There's these two movies from Disney called Frozen and Frozen 2. No, I resonate with Anna, just her optimism and struggles she goes through growing up, of like her siblings shutting her out. And on a very emotional note, I watched that movie a lot the first one a lot because Anna was able to do something that I was not. When I was a teenager, my sister died. So part of watching that movie is a little bit of that like happiness. It's going to be weird to say it this way, but kind of happiness porn, essentially. You know, she's able to do the thing. So that's a thing. But beyond just that, like the character herself is very optimistic and kind of dorky and shit. So, and you know, that
Stop.
so that's something that I resonate with a bit. Or I see myself in. So in the second one, when she's like going through a whole bunch of shit, I think I brought this up a couple episodes ago actually, where she basically just gets up and decides to, you know, even though she's going through this huge amount of grief, she's like, all right, I'm just gonna like, you know, take one step essentially. And it's a really I like that message. Even though the world is shitty, Tom. Characters can get. I know this is literally the exact point you were kind of making. Is that even though the world is shitty, there's characters who are going to try. You should try regardless.
But that's the clear message of that.
Right. There's a clear message there. Yeah, absolutely.
Like it,
and I like it for
it's not virtue for virtue's sake.
Because she tries, she succeeds. As opposed to her trying and then just getting shit on.
More
anyway.
at stake. Just like the family dynamic is much more powerful, I think, than like a societal dynamic, which is why, you know, superhero movies don't really do much for me. But if it's a family struggling, I just feel more relatable to it.
But we're not talking about like what stories we like necessarily. We're talking about the ones that
I'm talking about characters that you relate to
to
emotionally.
Yeah, exactly. And usually the reason that you emotionally resonate with a story is because there's some character that you are sympathizing or empathizing with. So that SK with Hunchback of Notre Dame being you know, the story that you were talking about earlier, you were saying that you think maybe
you related more
you're
with
seeing
the audience.
You're the bully in that scenario. You're seeing yourself that way.
You related more to the people that were poking the stick.
Yeah, I'm Friar Frollo or whatever. I just feel like a totalitarian asshole. I don't know. I really like the Hunchback. I really like Tarzan too, but I don't feel like I resonate with the Jaguar or the fucking guy who dies at the end.
It's hung.
Clayton.
Yeah, Clayton. Yeah,
Clayton. Yeah.
Clayton. Yeah.
Clayton. Yeah.
Clayton.
The point of it was I'm sad when I watched The Hunchback of Notre Dame. I don't know exactly why. I'm sure if I watched it right now, if I had, you know, the ability to pipe in 90 minutes right in a second, I could tell you, but I know why I like the Green Mile.
There's a movie a movie called The Man Who Laughs about this guy born, it's like from the 1930s or something, but it's a guy who was born with a permanent smile on his face. He was the inspiration for the Joker.
Yeah,
and he's basically a Hunchback Notre Dame kind of character where society's just trying to make fun of him and go around and try to kill him and stuff.
Okay, but I don't really give a shit about
like
Frankenstein, though. You know, I'm not sure that it's specifically the outcast character. It might just be Quasimodo specifically.
Also, not a fan of Tim Burton.
No, honestly, no. Oh yeah, let's make the same fucking movie 8 times.
I had an idea of talking about stories where there was clearly somewhere you were supposed to have an emotional reaction to, but it just didn't resonate.
Yeah, I've had that. It just fucking everyone's crying. You're like, what? Why? What do you mean you're sad about this?
For some reason,
so heartwarming.
When I was watching like Supernatural for the first time, well, the only time, because Jesus Christ, I can't commit to watching that show twice. They do a lot of like, oh, our dad's gone, kind of like stuff, and I think it's supposed to have an emotional impact, but I just don't care when they're talking about it.
I didn't really feel that way about it while it was happening. I really like Supernatural too. Mm-hmm. I like the later stuff, as you get closer to season 5, I like the emotional build up there. But the whole we're brothers and our dad is missing, and it's like, well, I hate dad. And it's like, you need to love your dad. It's just okay. I like the brother dynamic. That's kind of that's the thing that gets me about Supernatural is the brother dynamic.
SK, do you like the brother dynamic in Supernatural because you relate to it in some way?
Why are you teeing me up to say what you just wanted?
I'm just curious. I'm
sure that's why. Because I have a brother too.
Being a brother's hard. I wonder if I'm thinking of my own family dynamic where I kind of feel helpless as they kind of like do bad things for themselves continuously and never learn from their mistakes. So I kind of maybe that's why I like watching Raging Bull as he just watching him fall apart over time at his own actions, and like maybe I just relate to that, not being able to help them be like just be a better person, It's I don't know, maybe I relate to that.
I'm sure that's the core of it. That's probably the core of it for everybody.
Yeah.
Why do you like anything? Because it gives me a sense of control over my life that I don't actually have.
Tell me, how does it relate to your family?
I like brother stories. Those are good ones. Full Metal Alchemist, primo. Supernatural up to the 5th season, primo. I'm waiting for the hard. Thank you for joining us on the Soyle Podcast.
I love you all. I'm glad we're friends.
Tom usually does it, and I was really waiting to just have my neck break over the whiplash.
So tell us in the comments what movies make you cry and what emotionally affects you. What are the dreams you have and how it's projected onto the screen? Because that's the art of art.
Yeah, tell us what movies make you sad, and we'll tell you what's wrong with you.
Fucking psychological analysis in the comments.
I cry every time I see Air Bud. Air Bud?
It reminds me of the time that my dog died.
Playing basketball?
Well, he had a stunt double.
Yeah.
Was it a guy dressed in a dog suit doing his stunts?
We were talking about this before the podcast started. There was a stunt double that was just a man in a dog suit. So whenever Air Bud... Whenever Air Bud would dunk, there'd be a guy dressed as a dog.
Totally was.
Look it up.
No way,
I think it was Bill Murray. Pretty sure it was Bill Murray.
Would that be the fucking funniest thing ever? Behind the scenes on Air Bud, there's just a guy dressed as a dog who runs on all fours.
Thanks for having me on the show. I loved talking about emotional things.
Yeah, dude.
And stories that I related to. I'm an empathetical guy, I feel a lot. I relate with a lot of characters.
Okay, if you're like Matt and you empathize a lot and you feel it in your bones.
Put a teddy bear emoji in the chat.
Perfect.
Wait.
Yeah.
I do relate to Michael Scott a lot. I'll say that.
Of course you do.
From The Office.
Because Michael Scott is an awful human being.
Yes.
Anyway, if you enjoyed this episode of the podcast, feel free to like, comment, subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're listening to us on a podcast audio platform, Spotify, Google, Apple. Yeah. Do whatever you do over there. Do you follow or subscribe?
Yeah.
Something to that effect. Yeah. Do that thing so you can see us again in 2 weeks. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Send us love letters.
We're going to have to change the locks on the door so Matt can't just walk in anymore.
Yeah. Also, I can't watch you cry the entire podcast. Wolverine.
I mean, we'll deal with that later.
Yeah.